I'm not going to waste a lot of your time. Valorant skin prices are going up drastically, and they are not coming down anytime soon. So, sponsor of this video is a place where you can get your Valorant gift cards at a discount. Top link in the description. All right, let's get into the video. What is up, boys? My name is Berate. Now, this is a bit of a different one. Recently, across my YouTube feed, I came across this video from DRX Lothar HS. Now, obviously, he is a pro player, so he naturally knows more about the game than me. However, he is talking about his thoughts on the new Harbor rework. He's looking at it a bit from a more high elo pro play perspective, and all of his points that he makes here are completely and 100% valid. However, I think one thing that he's missing is the average solo queue aspect of it. The parts of Harbor that you can get away with in a lobby that's less than Immortal 3. Now, watch his video. Absolutely go and watch his video. In fact, the download quality when I downloaded his video is so cheeks that if you want to watch his video in its original glory, it is linked in the description. Full credit to Lothar HS. But without any further ado, let's get into what he has to say about the new Harbor rework.
Harbor is worse than he was before the rework. I sacrificed my stream today to play Harbor and learn a little bit more about him because I created a video 2 days ago predicting that he's gonna be nerfed with the changes. Well, and unfortunately I was right. First and foremost, let's start with what I think is the biggest problem of his. Let's start with his ultimate. It's 100% on nerf. That's not even like a question. So the thing is, the old ultimate had a lingering effect, could stun people multiple times, and you were getting the information because of the animation from the heaven going down, stunning someone. Right now, it's a big paranoia.
While I do agree that his ultimate is a little bit weaker in terms of its ability to gather information, I do believe that the ultimate is still pretty good. You just have to use it in a different way. So before, you would use Harbor's ultimate for a long-lasting sight hold, or not sight hold, a long-lasting site-wide effect, right? Where you would have it encapture the entire site, and for 3 bursts, it would go and it would give information on your opponents. And if they stood somewhere for too long, they would get stunned. That was really good. However, it was very hard for duelists to capitalize off of that. One, because stuns in this game are low-key cosmetic. Your first bullet to 2 bullets is still completely accurate when you're stunned. So a lot of high elo players would just shoot jets out of the air when they would try to dash in and capitalize. But also, you could just move out of the way. There's no way to really hold the space. It wasn't like a big smoke. It wasn't very good. It had a different purpose. It told you exactly how many people were on the site. It gave you, a good stun and a way to capitalize off of the kill if someone is caught out in the open. Very good. However, this ultimate serves a different purpose. This ultimate is more for a site rush, is what it is. This is the ultimate that you would use. You would wall off the 2 choke points, and then you would push the ultimate to either push people back off of site into CT, or have your duelist run behind the wall and shoot people as they're coming through. He says later in the video that the paranoia lasts for 3 seconds. That is still pretty good. That is enough time for a duelist who's hugging the wall to push up to capitalize off of the ultimate. The ultimate is supposed to really be used in tandem with his other abilities, not really used in a vacuum. You would wall off the 2 main choke points, normally have it in CT if we're talking about the way most sites are laid out, or link in CT if we're talking about the other half of the way the sites are normally laid out, and then you would use the wall to push people off the site with a duelist pushing behind it. This is very easy to coordinate in solo queue. Again, my perspective is coming from a solo queue ranked coach. This is easy to coordinate in solo queue. All you have to do is say, Ayo, Neon, I'm gonna wall, just run out behind it and kill anyone it gets caught by. Super simple. So I don't think that the ultimate is a nerf per se. I think that the ultimate is a change, and how you use it has to vastly differ.
Now let's talk about the other new utility, which is the Storm Surge, the grenade that near sights but also slows. Now I want you to look at my health in the bottom corner and see how long is the slow duration. Are you seeing this? This slow effect is literally slower. This is lower amount of time than the actual wind up of the effect. I don't even feel it. There's like 2 steps that I do being slowed, right now, and it's gone. It's like 400 milliseconds duration or something like that, maybe even less than it. So the slow effect is completely like not important. It's a cosmetic slow. And the thing is, with combination of the near sight only being 7.5 range, 7.5 meters range, you can still hold any choke point essentially.
Now this is a point that I am going to heavily agree with him on. This is a very, very valid point. I don't think that there's enough charges of this ability. I don't think there is. I think that this ability is fine if they give him an extra charge of it. I don't think one charge is enough. As he said, the slow is not very impactful. However, I don't think that buffing the slow on it or buffing the near sight is going to do the desired effect. I think the only way to really save this ability is actually just to give him a second one of it. Maybe buff the slow a little bit. Instead of making the slow a half second, make it a full second. But you should be able to use multiple of them per round. Harbor is now one of those, what I call one and done characters, where he has one charge of each ability. Think Waylay having one charge of each of her abilities, or, Teho sort of having one charge of each of his abilities, but I guess the E ability kind of got split after the nerf. Either way, he's a one and done character now. He uses his ability and then it's gone, and then his smoke, his Cove gets puts on a recharge. I'll talk about the Cove later, but I think that the way to fix the relatively weak ability is to give him a second one and to buff the slow to 1 second. That's what I think is the solution here. Now, he, at the end, will talk about how bad the near sight is. I agree, near sights are pretty bad, but you can also play around them. You don't have to swing close. You can swing further from the angle. And if they try and hold closer to push you out, they're going to be out of position. If there's multiple people swinging you, it's hard to, spray transfer or kill two when you're nearsighted. There's ways around it. It requires a little bit of coordination, yes, but even you yourself can just swing wider knowing that he's nearsighted and just swing wider. It also deafens him, I'm pretty sure. Near sight effects, I am very sure, also still deafen in this game. I'll have to sort of see how it is and if it's the same way. But if the near sight deafens as well and you swing wide, they won't be able to hear you or pre-fire you. You just kill them. So yeah, that's my way to buff that effect. Also the fact he's annoying, you can do lineups with that effect. You can do lineups with it. So even for like high elo executes, if you have a good lineup for it, you can use it to, get people off of angles and disincentivize them from swinging. The two things are like, if we're talking about B main on ascent, people like to swing that a lot. If you can get a lineup there, you can get people off of that angle, off that operator angle. It'll be good for getting people off operator angles if you can figure out lineups for it. But really, just as at face value, it's not very good. So I say give them a second one, but also learn how to use it. Learn some lineups with it. I think it's going to be very useful in low elo and in high elo to get people off of angles you don't want them to swing, get people off of operator angles, and also combo with other pieces of his utility. That's sort of what I think that it's going to be used for, because I don't think Riot's going to be reverting the change anytime soon.
Now let's talk about the two things that he's left with, which is essentially, well, his wall and his Cove. Now the Cove remake is good. I think it's a good change. You can now finally not be on the mercy of your opponents shooting down the shield and destroying the smoke altogether with the shield, which is great change, and I like that. But I think the problem is you only having one wall now removes all the creativity that you had with him. That we gained a little bit of the creativity with the Cove, but all of the creativity with the wall is now gone because you can only use it once per round, and that's, in my opinion, a problem.
This is a point that I also tend to agree with him. I think that the Cove shouldn't be a signature ability. I think that if you have refreshable walls, that's good. However, you can still make it work. That's why, again, I'm coming at this from a solo queue perspective. For pro play, you can't use Harbor Viper anymore to like cycle walls on B main. I don't think Riot wants you to do that. I don't think Riot wants you to be able to cycle utility like you used to be able to. On Breeze, you can't run a Harbor Viper anymore, just cycling walls. You simply can't do that. You have to pick and choose when you want to use your wall. You got to be smart about it. You can't just throw a wall, set and forget, and then run out on site whenever you want, and then hope that if your site hit gets shut down, you wait like 30, 40 seconds and then you just have another wall and you can try it again. I don't think Riot wants you to do that. I think Riot wants us players to be a little bit more smart with when we throw out our utility. Again, I think that's why Riot's getting the sledgehammer and beating Viper over the face, because that wall is just really good for high elo and pro play, because it's a set and forget utility. You can just hit the site whenever and don't have to worry about it. You can commit to the site, you cannot commit to the site. I think Riot's trying to get away from that. I really think they are. So, with the Cove being the signature ability, the cooldown on the Cove ain't even that long. Last I checked, it was like a 40-second cooldown or something like that. You have multiple shielded Coves in the round. In most longer rounds, you can get 3. In most standard rounds, you can get 2 different Coves. That's why I say, and probably when students come to me wanting to play Harbor for coaching, by the way, if you like the information that I give and the way that I present it, Medify is near the top of the description. You can go and check that out. My prices are low. You can get solo queue or duo or team, whatever, ranked coaching from me, whatever. I'm a ranked coach, but I've also coached collegiate teams. I'm coaching one right now for the University of Arizona. Anyways, back to my point. I think that whenever I'm coaching people, I'm going to be telling them to use the Cove as early in the round as they can so they can put it on cooldown so they can get multiple per round. I think you can use one Cove aggressively, one Cove preemptively, very early round. I'm talking about defense here. I think you can use one Cove very preemptively. Go for like a boing boing peek like Ludiloo does. And then you can have a second Cove in the round for a good site retake. But Berate, if I waste my Cove early round, then won't they just be able to hit the site for free and kill me? That's what you have your wall for. You have your wall to fall back on. Again, I say don't use your wall first, only use your wall as a worst case scenario for a retake. But if you are stuck on a retake, you have your wall there to cover while your Cove is coming back. And the Cove is shielded as well. So again, you still get the benefits of a shielded Cove. You get the benefits of it without the drawbacks of you only getting 1 per round. So again, I don't think that this is a nerf. I think that this is a buff. It's just people are trying to play Harbor the way that they always used to play Harbor. But I think if you adapt, and I think if you learn how to play Harbor in his new improved state, I think he's going to be good for solo queue ranked. For pro play, that's out of my area of expertise. I guarantee you, I will agree with anything that Mr. DRX man here says about pro play, because he's a pro player, and I am not. So about pro play, I will leave the discretions up to him, but I think for solo queue ranked, in anything roughly below Immortal 3, I think Harbor's going to be pretty good. I think Harbor's going to be very good, in fact. If you learn how to play him, learn some lineups, figure out how his utility works, and also if you just buff the C ability a little bit. Make it so that you get 2 of them, or buff the slow, or both. My thoughts.
It would be much better if you would have the Cove as a buyable and the signature still being the wall, because right now he lost his identity. He cannot replace Viper on any of the Viper maps because you can only have 1 wall and he doesn't have enough smokes to be a solo controller. So he completely lost his identity because the cascades were actually a very useful tool in scaling up. Without this cascade right now completely in his kit, you lose that uniqueness that he had before. So now he just feels like a very weird controller that doesn't have a lot of power himself.
A quick point that I'll make here is I do think that he can replace Viper on Viper maps. Here's the reason why. Yes, he doesn't have multiple walls, but I don't think that having multiple walls is the criteria for replacing Viper on a map. I don't think that's the case. Now, obviously, for maps like Breeze, right, it's good to have the replenishable wall. It's good. But I don't think that Viper in her current state, for solo queue ranked, will be really able to be viable because the rest of her kit is just so awful. So bad. The rest of her kit is just genuinely awful. Genuinely terrible. I think that Harbor can be a Viper replacement for site hits. When you're hitting a site on offense or retaking a site on defense, if you use your wall sparingly, you have to make sure that you use your wall when it's going to have the most impact. Oftentimes that is for a site hit. But Viper Wall is good because you can put it up and then play anti-retake with it. Blah, blah, blah. So Viper Wall at its current state, there's no disincentive for just pushing a Viper Wall. I'm sorry, they reduced the decay after you swing through a Viper util so much that genuinely I cannot, with good faith, say that there's any downside to just flashing through and pushing a Viper Wall. There's actually no downside. Actually none. With Harbor Wall, there's at least a downside. You get slowed, and it's easier to pop you when you're coming through a wall while slowed. It's much easier. That's sort of my thoughts on it. Again, I think Harbor can replace Viper. You just have to play Harbor differently than Viper. I think people are trying to play Harbor like old Harbor or like Viper. I don't think people are trying to play Harbor like Harbor.
The grenade sucks. The ultimate sucks. The Cove is okay, but I legit think that he would be in a better state if you would just leave him as it was before and just change the Cove to this. Have this in the old Harbor and the agent is probably fixed, because now you still have the more powerful ultimate and a Cove that doesn't have to be destroyed but can be used as a shield, and suddenly most of his problems are going away.
I'll make a quick note here as well. I agree with this wholeheartedly, actually. I think if they left Harbor the way it is and then just reworks the way that his Cove works, I think it's fine. I think it's good. However, I don't think this full rework is as bad as people are trying to make it. I still firmly believe that Harbor is, again, he's not amazing. He's not S tier. He's not in the upper echelons. I don't know why I started eating a piece of pasta when I was mid-conversation. It's kind of just idly chomping. I don't think the Harbor rework is bad. Do I agree with the Harbor rework? No. I actually agree with Mr. DRX Man's premise here that Harbor would be fine if you just buffed the Cove the way it was and left Harbor as is. I think that is correct. I think that is good. However, in the state that Harbor is right now, I still think he's better than he was before. Significantly. He jumped from like a C tier to an A tier. 4 solo queue ranked. I cannot make this clear enough. 4 solo queue ranked. And then I'll add the extra contingency below Immortal 3. I think he's going to be solid if you know how to play around him, if you learn his cheese, if you learn his tech. Guarantee you Ludi Lu and Japanese Curry are going to be finding tech with this character and cooking with him. I think it's going to be fine. I think it's going to be great. Again, I agree with the majority of what Mr. DRX Lothar HS here is saying. I just think that we're blowing it a little bit out of proportion. I think we're being a little bit hype content. And again, this is no slight against him. Great. His analysis is really, really good on this. I just think he's lacking a bit of the solo queue context because he's a pro player. Like, I don't expect him to lack solo queue context because he's a pro player and that's what he does all day. And that's fine.
So I really don't understand what is the purpose of making him this way, because the old ultimate was better as an initiation tool. The cascade was also better as an initiation tool because you were easier to scale up. But when you think about it, with the slow changes, the cascades were great at defending because you were able to use the cascade in a choke point, and the jets or the neons or the razes were slowed down during their movement, so they were not able to dash forward because of that. So the Whaley would also been stopped because of the slow effect, but now you only have the slow effect on your one wall.
Another quick note that I'll make here is that's why I think that he should have multiple of his grenades. Reason being is for the stopping power, like you mentioned, is for the stopping power. I think that if he pops his Cove someplace and it's smoked off, and he hears a jet or a raise trying to entry, I think if he just throws his grenade on the choke point, he can stop him for like 3 seconds. And again, that's not very good. That's why I think he should have 2 grenades, so you can get 6 seconds worth of stopping power. Which, but Beret, 6 seconds of stopping power is nothing. The best stopping power ability in the game, in my opinion, is Brimstone's Molly. And that only lasts for 8 seconds. So you're only 2 seconds off of Brim Molly. And also, you can just hold the smoke as well. If a jet is dashing out willy-nilly out of a smoke with no utility, I think that that's a pretty easy kill if you have generally good aim, good movement, good crosshair placement. Not crosshair placement. Good aim, good movement. But I'll concede this point for now.
So once per round. That's it. So I'm legit thinking I'm taking crazy pills. But I've said before in the previous iteration of Harbor that he sucks on defense because he doesn't have any stopping power. Then he gets a little bit of this stopping power with this slow buff, because now he suddenly stops the movement, and now that is just taken away because you don't have the cascades anymore.
Again, fully agree with this premise. I just don't think it's as bad as people are saying. But anyways, with all that being said, I'd like to thank you all so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe. Since this is a series where I am adding context and giving my thoughts on videos about Valorant, feel free to drop video ideas in the description of videos you want me to go over, but also join my Discord and send them there, because I don't know how YouTube is with leaving YouTube links and comments. I don't know how this. So join my Discord server. Just hop in general chat, ping me and say, hey, Berate, look at this video. What are your thoughts on this? And if I like it enough, I'll be like, oh yeah, little Timmy, I'll make a video about that. But yeah, anyways, if you like the information I give and the way that I present it, buy my coaching. I've shilled that twice in this video already. But yeah, this has been Berate. Remember to brush your teeth. Bye-bye.